It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
Welcome to the Innovation Showcase session here at the GreenTech Festival. I'm Sebastian. I run the Urban Innovation Program at the Climate Tech Hub. This Urban Innovation Program, it's a network. We're operating towards New York, London, and Singapore. We're helping Berlin-based organizations scale their business to different partner regions. I'd like to point out two of our upcoming activities. We're going to the London Tech Week with the Climate and Impact Delegation in June. We're going end of September to Climate Week in New York over here. And if you're a startup working in sustainability in the impact sector and you're interested in learn more about our delegations or our organization, please talk to my colleagues over here. Finja, Nicole is over there, and or just talk to me after the session. By the way, we are funded by the Berlin Senate Department for Economics Affairs and co-funded by the European Union. And yeah, I would like to tell you what's happening in this session. We're having 6 startups presenting their ideas on stage, 3 minutes each. And afterwards, we will have a panel discussion on how to navigate in the climate tech and innovation and investment landscape, together with Bas from Carbon Equity, as well as Melanie from EnBW New Ventures. And yeah, I would like to jump right into it and ask the first participant on stage. And yeah, please join us on stage. Lara, you have 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, I'm Lara Rashdan, Yamakoe's co-founder. I would kindly ask you to close your eyes for one moment. Imagine yourself on a warm summer day. You're sitting in a beautiful Greek island. You're surrounded by big green trees. And suddenly, all you can hear on the TV are the news of wildfires erupting in nearby islands. You can open your eyes. For somebody who's half Greek like myself, these news were devastating. Yeah, thank you. Wildfires is not a Greek problem. Wildfires is an international problem that will continue to grow due to climate change and irresponsible human behavior. Some of the most devastating effects of wildfire is the 20% CO emitted into our atmosphere every year, the 390 million hectares of forests that we lose every year, and the 340,000 people that we lose every year. While speaking with respective customers, we gained some very insightful information. First, wildfires are mainly caused by humans. Also, during a wildfire, humans is the first evacuation priority. Second, in a lot of countries, firefighters have to be in the location of the fire to estimate the exact size, location, and the spread dynamics of the fire. And third, detection speed is key. The faster you detect the fire, the better for the firefighters. To incorporate all of this information, our solution is based on on-tree sensors continuously gathering information about human location and atmospheric data. This data is then transferred to a mesh network to the back end for analysis. The analyzed data can be viewed through our front end by users, where they can access information about the location of the humans, location of the fire, the spread dynamics, and the size of the fire, as well as the best containment and evacuation strategies. Compared to the competition, Yamakoe is the only product on the market that can actually detect human presence in high-risk areas, allowing for proactive measures to take place before a fire even starts, and aiding in evacuation efforts during a wildfire. We detect fire in minutes, not hours. We are fully automated, and we send fully automated data analysis such as size and location and spread. We are fully automated again and of low cost. Our product is in prototyping stages, and I want you to imagine the amount of impact, the amount of lives and forests that we can save with your help in collaboration. So, If our mission into saving forests and saving lives resonates with you, please scan the QR code and get in contact with us. We are excited to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm live, but Zhamilya, you're next. AgroSfer.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Zhamilya, and I am Partnership Manager at AgroSfer. AgroSfer is an agri-tech startup from West Africa. And as you probably know, in West Africa, 95% of farmers are growing crops. This is our farmer Flora. She's one of them. She's only 24 years old, maize producer from Benin. But due to a high fragmentation of value chains, she struggles to get an access to a market earning less than $1 per day, which of course hinders her ability to resist against climate change and food security challenges. But what if I told you that we have a comprehensive solution to ensure transparency to Flora's production by simultaneously increasing her income by at least 50%? Well, in order to do so, we begin our journey by creating a detailed digital farmer profiling and farm mapping for Flora. This allows us to know everything we need about her production activities and techniques, farm size and location, as well as her social and economic situation. By having all of this data on our platform and using simple technologies like QR code, we ensure to collect the information in real time. This enables us to trace Flora's production all the way from her farm to the fork, ensure transparency at every step. However, we don't only have an end-to-end traceability system, but also help Flora to expand her market opportunities and reach new buyers through our agri-marketplace. AgroSfer is committed to help our farmers in their transition to sustainable farming practices. And this is why we also install physical points AgroStore, where farmers like Flora can come and get an access to agroforestry training, organic inputs and fertilizers, and also onboarding on our digital platform. All of these services together allows AgroSfer to be a one-stop solution, spanning from production activities straight to the market. In only 3 years, we scaled our solution across 4 West African countries, reaching more than 30,000 farmers across 9 value chains. We haven't only tripled our revenue from last year, making us one of the fastest growing agri-tech startups in Benin, but also achieved a high impact by impacting more than 160,000 beneficiaries and tracing more than 45,000 tons of crops. Finally, in order to further scale our solution and impact this year, we decided to enhance our platform by connecting our traceability system to our marketplace. This will allow us to be one of the first, if not the first, solution in Africa offering an agri-marketplace with fully traced and sustainable products, all along displaying the carbon footprint assessment for each of our produce, thanks to our precise traceability algorithms. This scaling plan will help us to reduce the carbon footprint emission by at least 30% and provide opportunity for more than 1 million farmers to significantly increase their income in the next 5 years. Well, if you want to support us in our journey, this is our team. We'll be happy to connect with you guys. Thanks so much.
On time. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So next up, I would like to introduce you to Uli. Recently, we cooperated on a hackathon together, and he's here to introduce HPE Hack and the teams.
Thank you. Wait a second. Test. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for this introduction. And as already said, I'm one of the organizers of the Hack HPI. We cooperated this year for the Hack HPI 2024. And just a short introduction to what the Hack HPI actually is. We are a 24-hour event where students from all over Europe come together to solve globally pressing challenges. And for example, this year the focus was on smart cities as well as green tech. And now we're gonna hear the pitches of 2 of the winning teams. And if you feel like a hackathon in this format is something ideal for you, feel free to come up to us after this pitch here, after this session, and we can probably discuss how we could partner up and work on challenges for the next Hack HPI 2025, since we are always looking for people and companies that we can work with and that help us organize these cool events. So welcome on stage, one of the winning teams, Team HomeSwap.
This is what looking for an apartment in every major European city looks like. Last summer, people were so desperate that they were queuing for 300 meters on hours on end just to visit an apartment here nearby in Charlottenburg. We are HomeSwap, and we are here to solve the European housing crisis. The idea is plain and simple. Apartment swaps have existed for a long time, but they are kind of inefficient. The idea is that I have a rental contract, you have a rental contract, we exchange those, and everybody's better off. They have several advantages over traditional listings because there are no 500 messages sent, people being ghosted, you don't have to pay double rent, and people just generally move in and out from flats much more efficiently, which leads to much better outcomes for society. However, they have a problem. And for that, you have to find exact matches. Let's just take the example of my grandmother. She lives in a 4-bedroom apartment in the city center in Berlin, and she would like to downsize. However, she has an old rental contract, which basically means that she would pay more for a single-bedroom apartment than she does for her 4-bedroom apartment. At the same time, I have some friends who would like to have children, but they also cannot do that because their apartment is too small. Unfortunately, they cannot swap because the family's apartment is still too big for my grandmother, and that doesn't really work. So what if I also include my friend from university who would want to move in with his girlfriend? Then my grandmother can give her apartment to the young family can give their apartment to the young couple, and the young couple can give the apartment to my grandmother, plain and simple. Under the hood, this works basically as a big weighted graph. Every match is represented on this graph, and we're looking for cycles. All these cycles basically mean successful swaps, and people are better off. We also realized that there are many, many cases where there are, let's say, 8 people who would be really happy with a swap, but there is one missing link. In that case, we came up with the idea is that it's possible to just compensate that one person who tolerates this minor inconvenience and make everybody better off. Our impact and market is huge. Alone in Berlin, there are approximately 1.9 million households renting. In Germany, this number is 19.5 million, and around the globe, 4.71 trillion euros are spent on rent each year. Just optimizing the market in Germany by 1% means that approximately 200,000 households are better off. Obviously, we're not alone on this market. There are existing exchanges facilitating such home swaps. However, they have the problem that you have to find an exact match, which is not always easy. Our business model is also plain and simple. We take a small cut from each transaction or successful swap that happens on our platform, and at the end of the day, everybody is better off. Where we live affects every part of our life, who we meet, where we go, where we work, etc. We are HomeSwap, and we are here, and we are solving the European housing crisis 10 swaps at a time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Next up is Lennart from UrbanHarmony.
Hi. Have you ever walked through Berlin streets and felt frustrated because of broken bus stations, overflowing trash cans, or graffiti on buildings? You're not alone. But what if there's a way to quickly and easily report these issues and hold authorities accountable for it? That's where UrbanHarmony comes in. It's a simple crowdsourcing tool that lets you report problems in your community and just using your phone. Yes, how it works is that you simply just take out your phone and take a picture, and the AI does the rest for you and fill out the report. Because normally you will just walk down the streets with your dog, see a pothole in the street, and you will normally just ignore it, or you will struggle to to report to which department. With our solution, the AI will do the magic for you, and you can afterwards also keep track of your reports, and also other users in your community can see your reports and can upvote the importance of the reports. How that works is that we trained our own AI model, which can detect different categories specific to some reports. For example, destroyed cars or graffiti or destroyed streets and sidewalks, as well as trash and vandalism such as broken bus stations. And as you can see, it also will detect them with a high accuracy and a high confidence. And there's also a little mistake. It should mean close to 100% confidence and not close to 1%. But anyways, let's go to the interesting question. Where are the benefits? With UrbanHarmony, you can quickly communicate with your authorities in your city and your communities by just taking a picture, and the AI does the work for you. And it's also a win-win situation, because also for cities, it's saving the money, because problems which will not be fixed immediately will increase the total life cycle costs. One example for that is a broken street, which is not fixed immediately and will increase the damage over time, which will lead to higher life cycle costs. Also, broken and dirty infrastructure can lead to less usage in the infrastructure, and also broken and dirty cities can lead to less investments and also less tourism in that city. To sum it up, UrbanHarmony is the tool that you can use to report to your corresponding authority and just automatically in just a few seconds with just taking a photo. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is Maria.
Energy is the backbone of our modern society. Nearly all aspects of our day-to-day life are highly dependent on the availability of power. For me, it starts with my alarm in the morning, followed by my first coffee. Even in my off-grid garden, I have to bring my batteries to run my lawnmower. Even in this very moment, we all profit from the fact that I have this handy mic, because otherwise it would be very difficult for you to understand. But it comes with a downside. Nearly 80% of all CO2 emissions are energy related. Let that sink in, nearly 80%. My name is Maria Pozder, and I'm co-founder of Wind Energy for Everyone. We reimagine the power of wind and have developed a wind sail power plant that brings wind energy into new levels. Our mission with that is to reduce energy-related CO2 emissions. But what sets our product apart? First, we work in urban settings. Traditional wind turbines are usually found in open spaces, rural areas, coastal regions, even offshore. But we bring wind power into the urban environments and cities. Our wind sail can directly mount it on rooftops or building facades and generates energy where it's needed. Second, we empower SME. With our product, we aim to target small and medium-sized enterprises that we support on their energy transition. Here you can see our first prototype that was installed last year in September in Wuppertal with our first client. And yes, with this prototype, we support their energy transition to reduce their carbon footprint. Third, we drive innovation made in Germany. Our technology is unique in its own way, and we are currently started the international patent application process. We also won the Brandenburg Innovation Prize last year and are very proud of that. So, 80%. Do you remember that number I gave you in the beginning? I'll give you a new perspective to it. 80% of the year wind is available. Let's make use of it. So we ask for your support. We're currently looking for investors for our running fundraising. And we are also looking for pioneer pilot partners that would like to cooperate with for the pilot project with us. So please reach out, give us tailwind, and contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Welcome on stage, Joscha from Enerkite.
Test. Yeah. So hi and welcome everyone. I'm Joscha Jüstel, CFO at Enerkite. Thank you for the opportunity to pitch here today on this stage. So what is Enerkite? Enerkite is a Berlin and Brandenburg, Eberswalde-based company that develops and produces airborne wind energy converters. And what problem are we facing? I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you about climate change and the need for green energy solutions. What we're actually facing is that we see a megatrend to distributed or decentralized power generation. And wind energy has no solution for this immense market now. So in addition to logistical problems or the lack of the possibility for real mass production, traditional wind turbines are either too small, making them totally inefficient, or too large and not suitable for decentralized applications. And for baseload capable solutions, mini-grids worldwide, but also self-supply in rural areas, is mostly served by diesel generators, or at least diesel backup generators, or has to be calculated with huge storage, what makes it really expensive. So Enerkite addresses this problem by bringing a new wind technology on the market. By using kites, we reach high altitude, strong and steady winds for a constant power generation on the ground. And with only 10% of the material, we can deliver 5,000 to 6,000 full-out hours. This at least doubles the yield compared to traditional wind turbines, or is even 5 times the yield compared to small wind turbines with only 1,000 full-out hours. So with the ground station, the high-performance carbon kite, and the rotational launching and landing approach, we deliver with our first 100 kilowatt machine fully autonomous and fully automated operation. And compared to other very volatile green sources like photovoltaic, we can see down there, or traditional wind turbines, Enerkite offers baseload and dispatchable power 24/7, 365 days a year. And as the CFO of the company, I also have to tell you about our financing round, of course. We are looking for 5 million to reach our next technology readiness level and to bring the product on the market. Our main goals in 24 are the commissioning of the first product near prototype, 100 kilowatt, and to operate it at the first customer site in 25. And we also sold our first system to a medium-sized company in Hessen this year in Germany. So we want to further establish our marketing and our sales team. So feel free to contact me, and I'm looking forward to the discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so thank you everyone for your inspiring pitches and also for being on time, like precisely 3 minutes. It was really great. And maybe let's give a warm round of applause again for all the startups. Now let's transition to our panel discussion. How to navigate the climate tech scene, what challenges do startups and investors encounter, and these are some of the topics I would like to discuss with my panelists. So I'm delighted to have my colleagues Bas and Melanie join me for this discussion on stage. Oh, you're bringing your own chair? Yeah, probably. That's so great. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, it's all right. It's okay. All right. So, yeah, happy to have you. Bas, your commitment to sustainability began during your academic career. You founded a sustainability consultant and also you founded a training platform for young VCs, successfully training over 100 investors to date. And you strongly believe that climate tech investing represents one of the greatest financial opportunities of the coming decades. And you're actively pursuing that goal in your current role. As the country manager for Germany at Carbon Equity, your mission is to empower individuals to utilize their capital in the fight against climate change. Carbon Equity is based in Amsterdam and is a climate fund investing platform. And Carbon Equity opens up access to premier climate tech, VC, private equity funds, aiming to channel billions of private capital into combating climate change. To date, with Fund 2 and 3 recently launched, your organization has gained the trust of more than 700 investors, and who have invested more than 200 million euros. So I know you only been in Germany for around 2 months, and I wanted to ask you how you're finding your way around in Berlin. How does the innovation and investment landscape welcome you so far? Happy to have you.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's been 6 weeks now in Berlin for me, and although I was a bit skeptical in the beginning because apparently people always say me that Germans are very conservative, I experienced quite differently actually. In Berlin, the people I've talked to, and I've had many cappuccinos in the last 6 weeks, are actually super open-minded, both on a personal and professional level, and are really willing to think along. And I think what is especially surprising is that climate tech is really a huge topic here. So everyone wants to get involved or is already involved, whether they are like successful founders, venture capital funds. There's such an amazing or a huge push coming from the people here. So that's really inspiring. I think in that sense, it's quite similar to what I experienced in Amsterdam. And I'm extremely happy to be here. A co-working or an office finding is quite difficult. So if any one of you has any tips, let me know. But happy to be here.
Great. So at the moment, at the same time, we experience a lot of companies struggle to raise new funds. And I would like to talk about recent developments, maybe from, let's say, 2021 to now, and ask what has changed? What does it mean for startups that are now fundraising?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, let me quickly explain what Carbon Equity does, so we have a little bit of background. Carbon Equity is a climate tech, venture capital, private equity, fund-of-fund investment platform. So we democratize access to the world's best-in-class climate venture capital and private equity funds, such as breakthrough energy ventures, for example. So the fund of Bill Gates, we allow people with lower minimum tickets to get access to these kind of funds. So we have a very high-level overview of all the climate funds in both Europe and US. I think we've mapped and tracked over 800, 900, maybe even 1,000 different funds. And based on our selection, we select the best ones. And I think that also gives very interesting insights into the market because we have such a high-level overview. We see and track everything what is happening. And we all experienced, of course, in 21, the whole venture capital boom or bubble busted a little bit. We saw valuations going down very quickly, not only in B2B SaaS, but also in climate tech. To my opinion, that's very normal. I think it's going back to where it should be instead of having these billion type of companies without having a single euro revenue could argue a bit crazy. But on the climate tech specifically, what we have seen is that it was much more robust than different other sectors. So where SaaS or any other typical VC case dropped down heavily, climate tech remained kind of resilient for this whole trend. Although it dropped down quite a bit, it is still performing or outperforming other sectors. And I think that is really a strong signal of not only the startups and the investors, but really that this is a market that is here to stay. I think everyone has a little bit of nightmares of the clean tech bubble, and I think we can already say and tell now that this is definitely not the same case as back then. So I think we've seen it coming down, we've seen it coming less down than other markets, but we're still very bullish on what is actually happening. But maybe we can go more in depth on that later.
Thank you. Yeah, let's bring also Melanie into the discussion. And Melanie, you have been serving as an investment manager for EnBW New Ventures for nearly 2 years. EnBW is the Germany-based energy utility here in Germany. Before joining EnV, you've been with an infrastructure specialist, facilitating connections between sustainable infrastructure projects and the capital market. And prior to that, you spent more than 7 years at Allianz Climate Solutions. With over a decade of experience in renewable energy technology and project finance, you're now focused on bridging the gap between, bridging the gap with corporate venture capital. And so you work closely with founders and constantly looking for new organizations to invest in with your organization. And with your background in project financing and now as an investment manager, what alternative financing instruments are there? What do you suggest startups should explore?
Does it work? Yeah, it does. Okay. Thank you for having me as well. Yeah, great question, because I'm actually coming from hardware. Yeah, I did bankability assessments for solar business for years, trying to get modules bankable. And it was about that, it was about infrastructure equity, funds, it was about, all that stuff, SPV, non-recourse financing. And then I turned into this CVC business, and I learned that this is also not only one instrument, not every VC is that kind of VC, and same is for CVCs. And it's also that two words, like I just said, either they collide or they will be combined. Let's see. It was like when I started this, we like B2B business and we like SaaS KPIs and all that easy stuff. And now we're talking about climate tech. And I would say this is the point where also not only the tech stack, but also the funding stack kind of levels up. Yeah, you need more than one instrument, and VC might not be the only one. So this is what I always like to recommend also to founders, to see where do you want to go, what is the right money. It can be VC, but for VC you need that scaling hockey stick. Is that the right pathway? Are all startup solutions fit for VC? I'm not sure. There are also debt vehicles out there that might work also for startups. And for that, there's actually a missing point. So for myself, I'm coming from transactions, but there's transactional know-how missing in the startup space. People that know how to play this orchestra of financing instruments, from VC funding, debt funding, now there's venture debt out there, there are grants, and there's a lot of stuff that can help startups out there. Maybe to get the hardware out of the balance sheet, This is what we did 10 years ago. So it was about utility scale solar funding. Everybody knew how to do that. It was quite easy. Does any one of you know DZ4? Does any one of you know NPAL, the company? Yes. So DZ4 was there before. It was like that. Yeah, we are a startup. We have venture money in it, and there's a lot of hardware. Our investors are no dedicated hardware investors. Now you can just simply go there and ask them for more money or other VC investors, one way. They took the hard one. They hired a transaction guy, and he did this really bumpy road of building up a network of partners that might fit. So they went to Allianz Global Investors asking for infrastructure equity money for small PV installations, and said, no, we're starting around 100 million euro equity. Doesn't work. Okay, next one, please. They ended up with us. And we know a small German regional bank that was just hungry for new solutions and willing to build something. And they said, yeah, but let's also talk about insurance. What if the customer doesn't pay? It's B2C business. We really don't like that. If we talk about non-recourse financing. Okay, let's get an insurance at the table. And finally, and it was an event, it was late, a lot of wine. We were sitting there at a table, all of the parties. It was the startup, this transactional guy. It was us, kind of like a consultant, bringing them together, the debt and the insurance, saying, okay, we want to do that. We don't know how yet, but just let's start. And so we did. And we created this SPV model for those small installation portfolio. And it was a hard way. Nowadays, it's plain vanilla doing that. But you have to kick it off, although it's hard. There are a lot of instruments out there. VC is not the only one.
But how is it then that startups can navigate the whole process of finding the right financing instruments and to scale their business effectively?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not easy. I think, first of all, it starts with, as a founder, to really think what kind of business you want to be. There are many different ways to roam, and I think VC is not always the right one. You need to be able to scale very fast, and just not every business is capable of it, and also should not try to. So I think it really starts with the founders thinking about, like, hey, where do we want to go in 5 years? When are we successful? And there are so many other different elements that play a part. Also, you have to give away a lot of equity. And as soon as you're on the line of venture capital money, they don't let you go anymore. You are stuck, or more or less. It's not exactly that, but you are kind of in a rabbit hole. Although VC money can be a super powerful boost for many companies, I think it really starts with the founders on getting a good idea where to go, and then lay all the different kind of financing tools on the table. And it's all right to get an advisor or someone in your network to help you with, because it is very complex. Especially when you're doing hardware, you need someone in your team to really being able to understand it and calculate it again in order to really be successful.
All right. I mean, when we're talking about some of the startups, they're always going for venture capital. But as a startup in the climate tech sector, how can you effectively manage the expectations from different shareholders that would like to try to work with you? Maybe you could answer the question.
Hard one again. First of all, I think it's about learning their language. Yeah, really understand who is involved already and whom do I want to involve and why. And learn how they are thinking and why they are doing so. So just taking VCs and CVCs and what are they doing? How do they invest? How do they involve themselves? What is it for fund? Yeah, is it at the end of its lifetime, or are they just beginning? Do they need to raise? What about subsequent funding rounds? All of those questions have to be asked to really understand on who's on my cap table in that case. Or same for CVCs. Not every CVC is the same. So we're a bit like, I would always say, the Englishman in New York. So for the financial VCs, we're too strategic. And for the strategic VCs, we're too financial. So somewhere in between, trying to bridge that. So we're again with that topic of building a bridge. And yeah, it's about learning the language of your investors, but also of your customers. So you're in the, I would say the solution space, creating a product, but go out there and learn about your customers. Is there a real pain point I can address with my product? Is a market out there? And what is the language I need to speak to really get understood by my customer? This is what we often experience when pitching. So there's, for good startup, there's the investor pitch, and then there's a customer pitch. And those are two different pitches. And I think this is really important to learn the different languages.
To have a change in the perspective, I mean, from the investor perspective, what are the key factors that are in play when the investor is doing his due diligence?
I'm very much trained, but also her due diligence. So I think for the investor, it's always about spotting the opportunity, right? It's always about how much can they invest and what can they get out of it. So on the back end, they do calculations on how much equity they get for anything. So depending on the type of investor you talk to, you also have a different approach. If you, for example, go for venture debt, they just want their money back in the safest way possible because they're giving you some loans or debt. If you go for venture capital, let's say they have 10 companies in the portfolio, for them it only matters that 3 of them become super successful. The rest, to be honest, they don't care about because that's not how the venture capital game works. So when communicating to these investors, you have to, as you mentioned earlier on, really speak their languages because they all have different incentives. And I think that is also how you really have to position yourself. So and this is, I'm already skipping because I know we're going to talk about the 3 tips, but really do your homework. I think this is so important for raising money in the end. From whatever or who kind of person, really think about, hey, who am I going to talk to? Who am I in front of? And how is my pitch going to make them so excited that they do whatever they can to invest in me?
Should we already start with the advice? 4 minutes left, or should we have another question? What do you think? How long is your advice? Okay, then maybe let's start with the advices right away, right? So, to close the session, I wanted to ask both of our panelists for their top 3 advice for startups when fundraising. And should we do like one each, maybe? Is that okay? Melanie.
So let's go for the first. Any nerds out here? So let's kind of spoil a bit. It will be a towel, a screwdriver, and 42. Anyone knows about that? So the first one is, of course, a towel. According to Douglas Adams, you always need to have your towel ready. This one is about funding and vision alignment. So be aware of your cap table. Do your homework when getting into the money and getting the money into your cap table, that there's an aligned vision of what you want to achieve together with your investors. And then be careful if VC is the right one. It's not the only one. It might not be the right one for you, but to have then in the end the investors ready that support you on your journey to achieve your vision.
Yeah, and maybe to add on to that is that when I say or we say do your homework, it's not about going to their website and look at all the flashy companies they invest in. It's about doing really due diligence. If you're in the process, call companies saying, hey, how do they behave? Call companies that didn't succeed, call companies that did succeed, but also ask them questions. In the conversations you have, don't let them only do due diligence on you. They allow themselves to ask like 1,000 questions, and then suddenly you are not capable of asking them a few questions. That's not how it should work. It's going both ways. And I understand there's always a form of power play because they are giving you the money. But I think it's very important to really talk to them as well, and not only on a VC level, but also on a personal level. Because when shit hits the fan, it all comes down to the values of the person you have next to you. So I think that is a very important element, which is often overlooked, because saying, hey, here's money always sounds amazing, but suddenly it's not going so well, and that person is not as amazing as you thought. So that's one. I know we have 4 minutes, so... Then I think what I often see not going so well with the founders I sometimes help with fundraising is that they don't approach it as a project. They organically talk to people, they are excited that VC or investor might fit the bill, but that's not, in my opinion, how it should go. You should really approach this as a long-term 1 or 2 year project. You should list all the different investors. You should really set out a strategy. First go to angel investors if you're early stage. It doesn't make sense to immediately go to VCs. Then note down a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Don't approach your favorite investors first, because you have to learn so much of the process. So really think strategically about it. Get people on board out of your network who can help you with this. It's super difficult. So really put a lot of effort in it, because those people who you acquire, they get on board of your company. That you give them a part of your life, basically, where you work 24/7 on. So really approach this as an important topic. So that's my advice.
That's great. So let's hear the screwdriver, right? All right.
Second one is the screwdriver. This one is about the product market fit. Yeah, leaving the solution room and going back to the problem. Finding a customer where you can solve the problem and he's gonna pay money for it. Go out and find it. Sometimes it will be, there's this one customer, yeah, and he has the huge pain point, but it's a difficult one, like a German utility. Really bad customers. Takes decades to convince them. Maybe there's one that's not gonna pay that lot of money, but you can just close business 1 week after another with one customer and the second one and the third one. This one's got product market fit. It's not always that the best product will win. I would say the best product market fit will win the race.
Totally agree. I think we've seen that happening so many times. Another point of advice, and it's very contradicting all the things I've just said, but sometimes when there's money on the table, take it. And I know, so sorry for that, but it's sometimes also the case. Sometimes you cannot always choose, and then it's about the life, the existence of the company, and you have to take it sometimes. So it is not always perfect. That's also important to remind.
What was it again?
42? The answer to everything?
Yes, all right, yes.
42 is also a huge number. And this is about network. So when talking about climate tech financing, it's about a lot of financial options. Be aware of them. Build up your network, talk to the people, and ask questions. And ask them again and again and again until you have understood what that kind of capital would mean for you. And do you really want to have it? How can you assess this? Ask questions again and again. It's like the investor due diligence. Just do that because it's part of your heart and part of your life.
Last, and I think that's my personal favorite, investors are humans as well. So, yeah, I know. Sometimes, so yes, it all looks flashy from the outside, but in the end, they make emotional decisions. That is how they do their due diligence in the end. So it's super important to establish an emotional connection with the people. That means build relationships, talk to the people like 2 years in advance, and just not only talk about the company, but if you have an investor in front of you, ask about their kids, ask about the sports they do, because they have to fight for you in their investment committee. And again, buy the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's not that difficult. Ask questions, and establish a relationship, because in the end, that is how you get them on board. And I think that's super important.
Thank you so much for this brilliant insights and advice. We're out of time. Thank you so much for being on this panel with me today. I really enjoyed it. It's quite tough in 20 minutes to have a panel. Thanks also to the startups pitching on time in 3 minutes. So yeah, let's enjoy the evening. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all.
It's time to wake up.